Imagine a world where every time the hero fails to defeat the ultimate nemesis, reality resets and the hero is given another chance. That's right, every time the hero fails, the hero and the world in which he exists are recreated. No one knows how many times this world has been restored or how many times it will be repeated. Nevertheless, those who choose to embark on their own hero's journey will begin their adventure once more. Long ago, a war occurred between the gods. During this war, the god of nature, Orbis, was attacked by celestial beings and put into a state of suspended animation. The goddess of life, Dish, restored Orbis back to its original state. That's right. This place, my friends, is where our story takes place. Unable to destroy the god of nature, Orbis, due to the interference of the goddess of life and the full moon, the god of celestial beings devised a plan to brainwash Ilrios, the god of the sun, and use him as a pawn to destroy Orbis. Despite the attempts to break her loyalty, Dish's devotion to Orbis remains unshaken. Dish decides to divide her power and entrust it to Ross, the heir of the Covenant, who will rise to defend the world when it falls into danger. Thus, Ross El Claire, the alter ego of the goddess, emerges, accompanied by his guardian. He proclaims his determination to save the world as the heir of the Covenant and fulfill the will of the goddess. This kickstarted an epic tale of adventure and meaning that finally resulted in the death of Archdemon, only for the god of the sun to then send another Archdemon. Ross is not the sole heir, as there are others selected by the guardians created by Dish. However, only Ross holds the title of the heir of the Covenant. Anyway, the heir, accompanied by his guardian, engages in countless battles to defend the world, but it was never going to end. No matter how many times the heir defeats the Archdemon, another one will show up to take its place. Of course, the heir isn't omnipotent, and so he eventually loses. Ultimately, the world met its downfall. Can you imagine what Dish does next? That's right, she harnesses her power to fully restore the world. In an instant, the land of Orbis is restored, and the memories of its people are also reset. Peace and tranquility become a thing yet again, as the land of Orbis returns to being the utopia it once was. But if only things were so simple. This restored world isn't as perfect as the last one. To make matters worse, Dish had expended much of her energy. Over the course of an infinite period, Dish proceeded to restore the world 6 times. But all conflicts end sooner or later. When Ross and his companions fail to win the war against the archdemons, Dish realizes that it is once again time for her to restore the world. That's when the land of Orbis is restored for the 7th time. This version of the world is, of course, weaker than ever before. The same goes for the heir himself. Ross wakes up to find himself significantly weaker than when he was in his previous world. He awakens 20 years after the outbreak of the Archdemon War, a time when everyone else had already managed to defeat and seal the Archdemon. The Archdemon had been split into pieces and sealed away, leading to a period of peace. Upon his awakening, Ross meets Queen Diane and informs her of his mission to destroy the remaining pieces of the Archdemon's might, which are still sealed in sanctums. Only he, as the heir of the Covenant, is capable of destroying it. With a total of 6 sanctums to be visited, Ross and a group of heroes set out on their journey, beginning with the one located in Dean's kingdom. Here, one of them, a guy named Vildred, asks Ross something peculiar. He asks Ross if he's ready to fight the Archdemon until the end, no matter what. In fact, Vildred was already aware that the power of the goddess had been fading. If the Archdemon were to break free now of all time, there's no telling what would happen. If that time comes, will Ross follow through with his duty? Once more, Vildred observes Ross's unyielding determination. Suddenly, the barrier between the Archdemon and them is down. Before anyone can realize what's going on, it turns out Vildred has already killed Dean and absorbed the Archdemon's might. Just like that, he becomes Arbiter Vildred. The betrayal was monumental. Ross is left with no choice but to set out. A Wraith girl named Mercedes has to join him because of the backlash from this country considering what happened and how the Queen died, but let's not get into details. Ross, accompanied by Mercedes and his cute little guardian, set out to visit the remaining 5 sanctums to destroy the sealed pieces of the Archdemon's might and to take measures to prevent its resurgence. Ross repeatedly engages in battles against the Acolytes, who seek to revive the Archdemon. However, during his journey, he encounters other heirs and experiences a breakthrough. Ross comes to understand how to convert the Archdemon's power of destruction into the power of creation. Through this realization, he gains immense strength, but is still unable to defeat Vildred, who wields the Archdemon's power with ease. To make matters worse, Vildred captures and abducts Mercedes. Everyone comes together as a singular force to stop the Archdemon, as well as everyone who has just joined the dark side. Eventually, Ross and Vildred face off yet again. Through his understanding of how to convert the Archdemon's might, gained at Dunblairea's World Tree, Ross becomes capable of wielding even greater strength. He tries reaching out to Vildred and also states he'll ask the goddess to essentially leave this world alone. Eventually, Ross defeats Vildred, who has the Archdemon's might. Unfortunately, this is not the end. What happens is that the apostles had already brainwashed our sweet Wraith girl. They use her to reabsorb the Archdemon might that Vildred previously absorbed, and just like that, the Archdemon is reborn. This also means Vildred is now dead. Since Mercedes was created as a vessel for the Archdemon, she wields tremendous power. However, Ross never gives up, and he eventually manages to defeat Mercedes as well, leading to peace in the land of Orbis once again. However, for some reason, Ross vanishes into thin air not long after. That's right, he goes on another journey in search of clues on how to separate the Archdemon's soul from that of Mercedes. Ross finally revives Mercedes, only for things to go wrong yet again. A man named Strays shows up in Orbis with his associates. Strays, the Black Knight, invades the region of Sidonia and sets out to conquer its often feuding cities one by one. He constructs a tower called the Comet's Eye in every city, causing ominous occurrences such as the emergence of monsters and the spread of arrogance and mistrust among the people. Now, do you know what time it is? Yep, it's time for the Heir of the Covenant to come and see what's wrong. Ross travels to Sidonia. Upon arriving in Sidonia, he discovers deep-seated animosity between the cities. This is all part of Strays' plan, as he intends to use these negative emotions to open a portal and summon Faustus, a higher god, to the world of Orbis. Strays is also making himself more powerful by absorbing the energy from the cities. Ross and his companions put in tireless efforts to address the crisis in Sidonia, and their hard work ultimately leads to a glimmer of hope for unity among the cities. Through their efforts, the citizens of Sidonia come to realize that the cause of the war was baseless from the start. There is one city lord who sees the crisis of Sidonia as an opportunity. You heard that right. City Lord Lilius of Perland sees the crisis as an opportunity to unify the continent and restore the glory of her family, House Preludia. Strays appears, destroys the army, and defeats Ross. Now, why would the City Lord of Perland want to use this disastrous situation to her advantage? She was willing to exploit even the invasions of aliens, including Strays, to achieve her ultimate goal of unifying Sidonia. Things get awfully rowdy and political at one point, but let's just say our hero saves the day. Allied forces from across Sidonia unite to confront not only Strays, but also Lilius. After Lilius is decisively defeated at the Comet Temple, Strays remains as the sole remaining opponent. The Black Knight is gravely injured too. He's at death's door and looks like he's given up on everything, but what if Strays is not the final boss? There's this guy named Faustus. In fact, it's Faustus who corrupted Strays and compelled him to carry out this plan. Anticipating Strays' growing doubts, Faustus possesses his body and takes everyone to the distorted dimension. A confusing place, yet here Faustus brims as the final boss. As the heir of the Covenant, Ross possesses divine power, but it proves ineffective against Faustus, who's immune to holy power. Our crazy hero decides to renounce his divinity and become an ordinary human. He stands against Faustus as a human, who wields the power of Dish and Ilrios. He becomes an ordinary human, but with the power of gods. And so Ross defeats the final boss. Once again, it's the short season of peace. The lands are still reeling from the destruction caused by the aliens, but Ross continues his travels. He heads towards Eureka Continent to ready himself for the impending invasion of the Celestials. His strategy is to forge alliances with the nations of the Eureka Continent. The Kingdom of Britannia seeks to form an alliance with Eureka, and so to that end, Ross and his friends set out to Eureka as a representative. It won't be easy though, yet whatever happens, plenty of adrenaline rushes await our main characters. Well, as I've said before, this is merely a quick glance at the events of the story. The reality is far more interesting and epic, which is why, if you want more, check out this legendary fantasy epic. A great deal of adventure and thrill awaits you, my friend. Just set out on this journey and have fun. The Epic 7 Saga is simply a masterpiece.